Alrighty then, welcome to my stream. I am Akashdeep and we will take the Spiral Abyss reset, the first one that has happened after the 4.1 version has released for a spin. The goal this time around is, of course, to get to the bottom of the abyss no matter how many stars we end up getting. Of course, we'll try our best to get as many stars as we can. The last progress was, of course, floor 12, chamber 3, and we ended up getting 33 stars in a free to play account. Not a single money spent, although thousands of hours have been spent in grinding artifacts and making sure that the characters get to their best state as possible. This time around, the moment of Suzuki, if that's how it's pronounced. The current blessing of the Abyssal Moon is called Cleaving Moon. I don't know if there's any significance to these names, but the blessing this time around is that if the character's HP increases or decreases, their normal attacks as well as the charge attack damage will be increased by 16% for 6 seconds, and this can happen up to 3 times. And well, every single time this happens in an interval of zero point 0.5 seconds, it gets tagged upon, so you get a total of 48% increased damage if your character loses HP or gains HP. Now this is really helpful for someone like Newelet, the one that I recently pulled. Although I have not gotten the time to farm for his artifacts, the Marchu C Hunter set, as well as to get him to 90, as well as the talents which are still in 111. But if this blessing continues to be throughout the course of the 4.x version, I think that you should be able to see or watch me using Newelet in Abyss, and it's going to be fun. So be sure to click on that like button, subscribe on this channel if you want to see that happening. Apart from that, well, now that Newelet is not built, it only makes sense to make use of what we have at this point in time. So it's not a test run, it's the moment of Suzuki. So we'll go to the challenge, and it's 13 days and 12 hours before the challenge resets itself, and I come back to making another stream again. Right, so let's get started. We're back in Mondstadt, and over here, that's the progress for the last Abyss reset. 12th floor, chamber 3, that's the deepest descent that we have made, and we have gotten 33 stars, which was increasingly helpful for my free-to-play account, because the more stars you end up getting, the more primo gems that you earn. And yeah, this is something that we already know of: 48% of maximum increased damage if you are to make use of a character that loses or gains HP. So normal and charge attacks increasingly useful over there. Alright then, let's see what the Spiral Abyss has for store this time around, because 4.1 has introduced a plethora of new enemies on the field with the newer regions. So let's see if they will make an appearance in the floors that is yet to come in the later phase of the Abyss, especially the 11th as well as the 12th floors. So in floor 9 we have a leyline disorder of stating that if a character triggers vaporized reaction, that's a reaction between hydro as well as pyro. The vaporized reaction damage for that character is increased by 50% for 5 seconds, which is definitely going to be of use. Let's look at the enemies that we'll have for the first half and the second half. Nothing new. Of course, we have enemies that have orientation towards Usia as well as Pneuma. I don't have quite a lot of Fontaine characters, especially just one 5-star that's not built properly to its prime, but we have Lynette as well as Freminette. But then again, those are 4 stars, and I'm not gonna avoid using my built 5 stars just because I want that partial advantage that we might end up getting just because their orientation is towards Numa or Usia. But feel free to correct me if I'm mistaken in the comments down below. That's the chamber 1 enemies. In the chamber 2 we'll get hydro oriented characters in the first half as well as pyro oriented in the second half. Hydro as well as Cryo. So I'll be better off using a pyro character in the first half while a hydro character in the second half for an on-field DPS. And for the chamber 3, well, figures, we'll make do. So let's get started with getting our rosters right. So for the first half I'll take Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, Sheng Chu as well as a Shielder Zhongli. For the second half, we need a hydro character or a hydro DPS. So this is going to be interesting. I'll take Bennett, then Kami Sato Ayato, here he is. Then who else? Of course it's vaporized, so it's important for me to carry an off-field pyro applicator like Shangling. And finally, yeah, instead of Bennett, I think I could have better off be done with someone like Kazuha to group all those enemies together, because, well, it's better to have them together and then, you know, do the swish, swish, swish away and end up killing them, right? And it also helps with swirling, which ends up shredding their shields against a certain element that you end up swirling. So if it's pyro that you apply first, then you swirl it with Kazuha, so the pyro resistance is significantly decreased. Add on the top of that the leyline disorder and we end up getting a great performance. Right, so in the first one I'll end up taking, where's Shangling? There she is. And the on-field DPS is always on the second for me. Then I'll take Kazuha, who is going to be another support. Where is he? It's so many 5 stars and so many 4 stars, and it's just the faces that you find that out from. It can get confusing at times. And then finally, Sangonomiya Kokomi. Right, let's see if this selection ends up helping us, or do we need to run this floor again? Right, so we're gonna take something that's effective throughout the floor and not only in this chamber. So that would be the attack added 20% on the top of the existing one.
Gather. Order guide.
Zhongli's Petrify is increasingly helpful because it prevents people from attacking you. So you not only have the shield that prevents people from damaging you, but you stop them. You literally stop them from attacking you, which is of course really helpful. Plus I have stacked Zhongli with a suboptimal but kind of functioning amount of energy recharge, so his ultimate remains up. Plus hey, the requirement for energy is really less. It's like what, 40? So I mean, it's really no-brainer to not use or to use the, you know, the ultimate to petrify the opponents and, you know, make them stop dead on their tracks. Well, not good numbers to be honest, but you know what? The Abyssal Blessing is what I'm relying on, as well as Kazuha's shredding capabilities. And that leads the end of the first chamber of floor 9. Again, floor 9 is not something that we should worry about unless our build is too bad. Alright, this time around we'll take character element burst damage plus 20%, because it's not only going to be effective this chamber, but it's going to be with us throughout the flow.
There is no escape.
I'm not going to apply Hydro on that board thingy because it's an elemental life form, but I can do that on these. I don't know, what are these? Are these octopuses? However, I mean, come on now, these
will have
characters, these enemies, they look cute. So
Illusion
who would, in
shattered.
their right
This is the
state
power
of mind, kill them?
Rain outlines
Unless, of
your
course, it's for
fate.
Primo Gems, so, well, don't blame me, but come on, you need to make those enemies a lot more ferocious, you know, a lot more despicable looking. Really makes you want to kill them. And not kill them, but you're doing that begrudgingly. This is the second half of the second chamber. We're gonna gather them together. Well, it's interesting that the characters do stagger in their ult animation as well.
Another test subject.
It's funny. It's downright funny. That's what I'm gonna call it. There goes the Pyronado, and I'm going to be really helped if you folks come together and, well, take damage that I'm providing you with. That finishes the second chamber. Here we go to the third one. Of course, the first one is a no-brainer, but keep in mind that this is the last chamber. So if you end up finding something that's a lot more advantageous, you would want to take that because there's no more chambers remaining for floor 9. That's a thumb rule. That for the chamber 1 and 2, pick something that persists you throughout the floor, but for the chamber 3, you are totally free to choose something that's more powerful and not just something that's going to persist, because the persistence is not a matter anymore. Alright then, of course we will be benefited more by the crit rate as well as the crit damage, so I'm going to take that.
Gather. This is order.
And petrify them.
Rain cutter, know my sword.
This is of
Rain
course the place
outlines
where the
your
orientation to Numa, RK or the Uzia RK is going to be helpful, because do you see that device in the middle? Yeah,
I will have
that's
order.
something that charges them up with
Solidified.
the respective
Leave you alone.
RK. So I'm not quite sure, or well, I don't remember exactly which color belongs to which RK, because to be honest I did not pay much attention to it. It's only during the world quests as well as the exploration that I used them mostly, but apart from that, not even once. Okay, not good. We're gonna do some off-field healing to our Ayato and get them together, sword with Kazuha, and I think that should be the end of it. And Ayato goes at it even though my mouse, the charge attack is like, it's done. Right, so that was the end of floor 9. Let's enter the floor 10. And here is where things become a bit serious. But the ley line disorder is a lot more liberal than it was in the last round. Here we are free to do any hydro related reaction. Or hydro related damage for that matter. Like, don't do a reaction if you don't want to do, if you are carrying a mono hydro team. That's okay. You will still end up getting 50% increased damage. The condition is, of course, you'll have to have a hydro DPS or a sub DPS, but basically you would be advantaged if you carry a hydro character. So let's look at the opponent details. We have Wuxia oriented enemies in the first half and Numa oriented enemies in the second half. But in the first half we have well, this is interesting. So the first half we need to make sure that we have an archer character or some character that gathers people together, because there's clearly too many of them and they spread across, so you will be better off spending more time in moving to them or to attacking them rather than moving to them, because the more time you spend on moving to them, the more time you waste that you could have used in attacking them and killing them. And then finally in chamber 3 we have these. Right, I'm gonna persist using the same team that I used in the previous flow unless I feel the need of changing it. In which case, of course, I will change it when I'm proven wrong, mistaken, and told that, you know what, my characters are not as strong as I take them for. So, I'm gonna take Kazuha. Kaidehara Kazuha, there you go. And finally, I'm gonna take Sangonomiya Kokomi. Alright then. So I'm gonna take the attack plus 20% because it's going to persist throughout the flow.
This is
And
order.
well, of course, it begins with petrifying them.
Illusion shattered. Ring cutter.
Even though
No, my
Zhongli's
sword.
attack might be low because there's not much of, well, critical rate, critical damage that's added on the top of his belt, but he will still be able to stop people dead on their tracks and make them unable to attack me. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you, is a real benefit.
Fuse is lit.
And that finishes the first half of the first chamber in a Jiffy. I'm gonna start off with the big guns immediately because, well,
Adorn my night.
these things can deal some great damage if you leave them linger on for too long. And that finishes the first chamber. Alright, in this time we'll take energy recharge. We have Raid and Shogun who can clearly take advantage of that with, well, I think my build is strong enough. It's somewhere around 290 energy recharge, which makes sure that if I have my rotation's correct,
Ring cutter.
I should be able to keep her ultimate up all the time. It's a different story that I'm using her as a sub DPS. It's just the the Electro Infusion this time around. That's more of my advantage over here. But you know, when push comes to shove, he can take the field and do some real bad damage. Like
Witness the power of
bad for, of course, enemies because it's going to hurt them real bad, and good for me because, well, big numbers. Of course, Xingqiu is of help here, and he's a sleeper 5-star character, you know. That's what I'm calling. That's what I'm gonna call him. He's a 4-star character. Like, that's what you're supposed to look at him as, but that's a disguise. That's not him. He's a 5-star character, and you better believe it. Because the off-field application of Hydro that he does, my goodness,
Nice and spicy.
it's phenomenal.
Be still.
And the same goes for Shangling, for Bennett. I think if you were to have a combination of Shangling, Bennett, as well as Xingqiu, you get a national team. You know, add any 5-star on-field DPS. That's a national team. That's how powerful these 4-star characters are. It's so unfortunate that we don't get as powerful characters as these are anymore. Right, so for chamber 3 we'll take crit rate, crit damage because of course, and I am not in much of need for the reduced cooldown as well as for the,
Illusion
well,
shattered.
what was the other one? I forgot. Like, while they were petrified, half of their health was gone. Reduced to atoms. Yeah, like I'm gonna start sounding like a broken record, but if you have not pulled for Zhongli yet, do it. Do it. Like, it's a no-brainer.
The birds mind the damage.
Okay, before these guys run me over, I'm gonna use all ults that I have in my inventory and try to kill them as soon as possible. And that was the end of floor 10. We will now enter into the floor 11. Going good so far. Alright, so this time around it's both cryo damage bonus as well as hydro damage bonus. Of course, if you're carrying a team where you have both of them, a perma freeze team like Shenhe, Ayaka, Kokomi and Kazuha, that team is going to be broken, trust me. Because it's not only going to have a cryo damage bonus, but it's also going to have a hydro damage bonus. And if you add Kazuha in the mix, it's going to cost shred. So it's going to be a no-brainer. But yeah, that depends on the opponent details, which we're going to take a look at. Okay, so I'm going to persist the broken permafrost team for the second half because we clearly could use it. For the first half, I'm going to retain the team Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, Shengchu, and Zhongli. Yeah, plus we can use some bow characters for these specters because oh my god, if they start flying, well, it can be really, really ridiculous. But then again, wow, this does not look it. I mean, I could kill them with Yoimiya because even though Yoimiya will have pyro enabled, there will also be infusion of Electro as well as Hydro, but will I trust that? Well, I'm gonna have to give it a try first before I find that out. Of course, the Chamber 1 is gonna have... that's interesting because 11th floor Chamber 1 used to have the Monolith protection, which we don't seem to have anymore. Or, well, let's just say that we will be surprised to our core if I were to say we don't have it anymore and we end up having it. And in the second half, these water spitting phantasm, I don't know how vulnerable they are to cryo, but they definitely are not vulnerable to hydro. So would it make sense to switch the teams, like flip them? The first half goes to dealing with the second half, while the second half comes to deal with the first half. Of course, these cryo specters are still going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, let's flip it. Let's flip it. If it does not work, we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll start fixing things. So as it stands, the first half has Shenhe, Kamisato Ayaka, Kaidehara Kazuha, and Sangonomiya Kokomi, a full 5-star team. And 5-star, they are worth the 5-star name, not the kind of 5-star that we end up getting in the standard banners. Well, apart from Tainari. Tainari is a deserving 5-star who still ended up being in the standard banners. For the second half, we'll take Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, Shengchu, and Zhongli. Here we go. Gonna top up my hydration game here. Chances are that I might have a ley line right in front of me and I might need this hydration that I just got myself. Elemental burst damage bonus plus 20, of course I could use that, and it's gonna persist throughout the flow. Let's start.
Transfiguration.
We'll freeze them, but the problem is that we brought them together in the middle, right? So
Cryo incarnate.
that can end up messy if I'm not careful enough.
Wind and cloud.
My apologies.
Sadly enough, it's still the ley line protection, and I mean, come on, at this point it's infuriating. It's not yourself that you're not able to handle, but the monolith.
Whirling snow.
So it becomes a game of not only defeating them quick, but also to defeating them when they are not around the monolith. Because the previous time there were slimes that would be defeated near the monolith and they would explode as if it's their last resort of dealing damage. Almost like if I won't survive, I won't let you survive as well. And that's... that's not good. Let's just say that. Here's the guy. We did him some damage. And this guy... oh boy. This is definitely not good.
Order guide you.
The way this guy deals damage is like... he smashes. And he jumps right where I am. And so with this guy. I'll try to petrify him with this thing. And try to drive him away by facing the other side.
Time for a light show.
And he takes the bait. Okay. I'm gonna still go to the wall so that I get pinned to the wall. That's a small price to pay for the safety of the monolith. And yeah, it was not that difficult as I thought it would be. But hey, maybe I'm making a quick judgment. Maybe it's the other chambers of the 11th floor that would end up dealing me the damage, you know. So yeah, it's a bit too early to decide. For chamber 2, I'm going to take the charged and normal attack damage increased to 20%. Well, increased by 20%. It's definitely going to be of help. And you compound that with the bonuses that you end up getting in the last one.
My will and
And that can end up becoming despicable.
my apologies. So rude. Come
Okay.
into art.
That was stagger. And
By ordinance divine. Take your truth.
that's definitely not good if you folks are, you know,
Whirling snow.
spread so much at a distance from me. Come on now. And oh boy, this is bad.
Rebuild.
The wind knows me.
Take flight.
Because a bunch of these won't take damage from cryo.
My will and body. Sakura swirl.
Yeah, immune.
My apologies.
Not good. I'm gonna have to retry. And not only retry this flow, but this chamber, but I'll have to retry the entire flow. So I'm gonna start doing this, but I'm gonna teleport out and abandon challenge. That was an oversight on my part. Let's see if we can flip those characters, we still end up getting that or not. Of course, for the chamber 1, it's fine. Even if I end up getting lesser star this time around, let's just say in the chamber 1, the 3 stars in the chamber 1 is fixed. So yeah, let's flip the teams. In chamber 2, of course, we need a dedicated cryo applicator, while the second half can make use of them. Yeah, let's take chances. Chances are that for the chamber 3, I might have to quit again and get myself a worse performance in the second chamber, only to be able to get a better performance in the chamber 3. Who knows? Let's find it out. Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, Xing Chu, and Song Li. And that should help defeat the Cryo Spectre as well. Perfect. For the second half, Shinhe, Kamisato Ayaka, Kaidehara Kazuha, and finally Sangonomiya Kokumi. Well, let's get it started. Of course, elemental burst damage plus 20% is something that I'll go for.
Stabilize.
Can you come right in so that I can petrify you in one fell swoop? And
There is
then
no escape.
so the auto aim for Yoimiya can be a bit tricky if the characters are too spread out.
This is
So you'd want Yoimiya to point towards a certain character when in fact she will point towards someone else, which is suboptimal at best, let me tell you. And this person deals quite a lot of damage, so I'm gonna have to deal with them first.
There is no escape. Now you shall perish. Ha!
definitely a faster means of dealing damage. Of course, I'll have to go to them to deal the damage. And these guys,
Is order.
well,
Let me weave you a
these
verse.
deal
Rain
damage
outlines
from
your
the
fate.
place that they
Time to
are
act.
in.
Shine down.
So-
Time for a light show.
Not good. That's a TLDR. Not good. Okay, I'm gonna rush to that person and deal some damage and then turn the other way.
Allow me.
And hopefully,
In your dreams. Do your master's bidding.
well, surely it's good for the ley line, but not so good for my characters because she and her clearly took a lot of damage. Now I'm gonna have to rush to that guy, deal some damage no matter how small it can end up being.
Hold the
Deploy an on-field
Take your truth.
healer.
Time to go.
Yeah, and then probably have hopes of killing this guy doing the burst. And thankfully my Kamisato Ayaka has some good artifacts. Oh boy, the months I've spent grinding that domain. Yeah, that was tough. Right, so this time around in the chamber 2 will take normal and charged attack damage just increased by 20%. And just because we have a bow character here, so we don't really have to go to them and deliver justice when we can deliver it from the convenience of wherever we stand. Especially with Yoimiya, you don't have to waste time in aiming. Just pew pew away, and
Order
well,
guide you.
most of them would be taken care of. Of course, I'll have to rely on the infusion for pyro inclined enemies because Yoimiya is clearly incapable of dealing damage to them. Unless, of course, I move on to damaging them physically, but that's going to be smaller numbers
This
and
is order.
clearly a waste of time.
Witness the power of good one. Shine down. Know my sword.
Right, so the only ones that we are left with are the pyro inclined ones now, are we? Of course, the pyro attacks are not affecting them, but the remaining ones
Will
are.
have order.
So that's some semblance of faith
Let me weave you a verse.
that maybe it's not as bad as the choice that we had in the previous one.
There's no escape. Fuse is lit.
And of course, when you have Zhongli, you don't really have to worry about strafing or dodging or blocking or, you can simply ignore them. But then again, you should have that common sense that, yeah, probably too much of ignoring is not right because there's only so much of saving that he can do at any given point in time. I'm gonna save up my ult because this guy is clearly not gonna need it. And there he goes, he charges. Therefore, wasting some of my time in traveling to him.
Transfiguration. By ordinance
Which of
divine.
course is not something that I'll prefer. I'll prefer to do damages wherever I am rather than traveling to them first and doing it. Okay, hold on. Does this guy fly?
One with wind and
Because if
cloud.
it does,
Take your true form.
it's going to end up being tricky. He's not a ruin break thingy, right? So I don't think this dude flies, but if I take longer time, I would have found out. Have we entered the chamber 3 of floor 11? Let's see what it has in store for us. And the buffs we have so far is elemental damage increased by 20%, normal and charge attack damage increased by 20%, as well as now we're of course gonna go for the elemental skill damage. And well, oh boy.
Solidify.
Xingqiu, you're up.
Know my sword.
Oh boy, that got missed.
Order guide you.
Elemental life forms, am I right? Very vulnerable to some kind of damage, while very invulnerable to, or very invulnerable and vulnerable kind of mean the same, don't they?
I will have order.
Yeah, so very less vulnerable to any other kind, if you will.
Ring cutter. No, my sword. Illusion shattered. Fire hazard.
That's one shield down for one of the crabs. I was gonna call them carrots. But, well, if I make it fast, this guy is gonna be down as well.
Stabilize. This is order.
Witness the power of Gurwa. Time for
Of course,
Electro.
no attacks with Electro because an elemental life form would not budge. Well,
Shine down. Torn to oblivion.
just because these are Dendro, I think these would be greatly damaged if I were to apply Electro to them rather than, probably something else that does lesser damage, some other element.
Solidify.
Let me weave you a verse. No, my sword.
That is where Raiden comes handy as an on-field DPS. Even though for the 90% of the times I was having her as an off-field, like as a supplement for Yoimiya.
My apologies.
Oh boy. These things are tanky as hell. And I think that is where most of the time is gonna go.
Cryo incarnate. Into the wind.
And they don't even freeze and cause damage like the one New Village does. Splashes, bunch of splashes, that kind that deals a lot of damage.
Transfigurate.
Fallen leaves. Adorn my knife.
Billowing surge. That hurts.
Certainly does. I mean, come on now. I'm not even getting that damage and it still hurts from outside the screen. Just looking at it hurts me. And it makes me think about all the times that I'll end up spending on these because these are notoriously hard to kill.
My will embodied.
The wind knows me.
Whirling
Whoops.
snow. Yeah.
Well, the only semblance of goodwill that I have at this point is that these have gotten closer.
Take flight.
So if her ult is ready, which it is right now, perfect.
Do your master's bidding.
So even if she gets staggered, it's fine. The ult's gonna do the damage on her behalf.
Hold the line. Take your truth. Whirling snow.
Some iframing stuff as well. Because to be honest, I could have used the swirl, but the thing that I could have used more is iframing. I really hope that the other thing does not get his health back just because I killed his brother first and not him. And there I lost 1 star. Not good. Retry. Not really retry. I'm gonna have to bring some strong characters which are power inclined over here. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do. So even if I'm gonna select elemental skill damage, I'm gonna again leave for now, come back again, which essentially would mean that I would end up messing my Chamber 2's performance, but I think the Chamber 2's performance is, well, it's ensured by now, 3 stars. No one's gonna change that fact no matter how bad you end up performing in the subsequent runs, right? At the end of the day, they're not even keeping track of your time. If you were to match a certain threshold, that's it. So, for the Chamber 3, we're gonna need a Pyro character in the second half, and I think we're gonna do just fine with Hydro as well as Cryo once in the first half. So, let's prepare ourselves for messing up the second chamber by taking Shinha, Kamisato Ayaka. Where did Kazuha go? Kaidehara Kazuha, Sangonomiya Kokomi in the first half. Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, Xingqiu, and some stagger resistance. For God's sake, I could really use some stagger resistance in the second half of the third chamber of this floor. So Zhongli. And of course topping up my hydration because I clearly need it. As you can see. So I'm gonna select the same set of advancements. Benediction, well-wishing, elemental burst increased by 20%.
That's close enough.
New punch.
Frozen them so that even if they could have dealt damage,
Sakura swirl.
New punch.
dealt damage, not
Cryo
dealt
incarnate.
damage. The kind of stuff that comes to your ears when you hear English from someone who does not have English as their first language, right? That kind of stuff. Right. So, I'm gonna touch this guy. Well, the damaging part is not important as much as getting his attention is, because he has no reason to damage a ley line unless we let that ley line be between him and ourselves, right? So, of course, over there I'm gonna have to make a wild goose chase. Come over here, bud.
Solidify. I will have order.
We petrified him.
Power Gua.
Because this is something that happens, you can't permafrost him because this guy has electro damage going throughout his body. And oh boy, that was a perfect run. Did you see that? 100% HP of Ponulit remaining up until the end. Oh boy, that was amazing, but we're gonna crap on that amazing performance in the second chamber by doing exactly opposite of what we did in the first chamber. We're gonna perform real bad, not because we want to, but because we have a comparatively worse choice in our characters. So, well, there's not much that needs to be said here.
Billowing surge.
Into the wind.
Obey.
To a point that we might actually not ending up killing these, because this is a mono what's that thing called? Mono cryo team. So no matter how much it has to be physical that I'll have to deal them with. And some healing for myself, because of course can't survive if my characters don't. Especially if Ayaka does not, because even if it's physical, these are some great numbers.
Sakura swirl.
And some hopes that it ends up hitting the right one. And it did.
Clouds high. The birds.
Here's hoping that their own elements ended up, causing the swirl reaction. Yeah, there you go. This is Pyro, isn't it? So, can I lend your Pyro to inflict this guy with... No, I can't, it seems. That's too bad. That's bad. Now, just because I spent too much time in the first half, I'm gonna have to run here. Like, do it real fast. But it's not a necessity. I'm gonna still try doing it because perfectionism is something that, well, you could go for every now and then. Gotta keep hitting until the Pyro infusion wears out. Then petrify,
Stabilize.
because, well, if you can't even attack me, then I'm gonna be more safe than I would be with just the shield. And then finally this guy. It almost feels like I might end up getting 3 stars over here with that bad team. Yeah,
No, my
weird,
soul.
isn't it?
Let me weave you a verse.
And there it goes. That's 3 stars. I think that was a premature optimization on my behalf that I selected another set of characters just because they could not deal damage to Pyro. No, not Pyro. Cryo Spectres. Because the physical damage was just fine. It was okay. And finally, we're gonna go for elemental skill over here. Let's pick that, and here we go.
Let's move out. Allow me.
Elemental life forms with equal amounts of disdain for Cryo as well as Hydro. So I think we're gonna do just fine over here, unless one of these guys start flying or jumping or, you know, doing some weird stuff that they're not supposed to do too early on in the battle phase. I think even these guys,
Transfigure.
especially Cryo, will be
My
a
apologies.
good way of affecting Electro, and Hydro will be a good way of affecting these Pyro guys, the Pyro shielded crabs, whatever the hell they are called. And finally, okay,
Allow me.
some Hydro, and then we're gonna swirl it,
Fallen leaves.
Adorn my...
and that should make it a cakewalk. 94 grand, okay, 94 grand in terms of the E or the elemental skill. Those are some good numbers. You know, add weakness to Cryo for that Pyro Abyss Mage, the swirling that Kazuha does to form Shred, the buff that Shinha provides with her elemental skill or elemental burst for that matter, and finally the permafrost reaction that Kokomi or the Hydro Infusion gives you up with. At this point in time, it almost feels like I'm doing chemistry and not playing a game, you know, playing with all these reactions and
Now
stuff.
we shall perish.
Okay, some good damages so far, even though Hydro won't affect this guy, but
Stabilize. This is order.
we can be benefited by the reactions at least, and that's good enough for me at this point in time. And you know, these are getting some good damage numbers. Maybe I should start focusing on his brother, who is becoming too excited with the
There is no
water
escape.
stream that he's subjecting me with. Phantasm. Phantasm means ghost, isn't it? Well, if you know what phantasm means, let me know in the comments down below. Because
Rain cutter.
Phantasmagoria,
Feels a slight.
that was something that sounds close to what this word sounds like, but I have heard before instead of, I don't know, I have never used this word somewhere else in my life.
Solidified.
It's too fancy.
Illusion shattered. Torn to oblivion.
Okay, 94 grand, 7 minutes. Yeah, if we finish it before 7 minutes, because 7 minutes is, I think, 420 seconds. So yeah, we were able to finish it well within time. And there you have it, folks. The 11th floor is done. It's time for the 12th floor, and we do not have any kind of ley line disorder to help us this time around. We are helpless. Like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it this time around. Literally helpless with what we will end up doing. Yeah, let's see what we have in the opposite side of the team. So Rift Town, so we would need an active healer on the second half, that's for sure. Then okay, these ones. So of course, carrying a cryo damage unit, like I was thinking of, like, yeah, I'll take Shinha, Kamisato Ayaka, Kaede Harakazuha, and Sangonomiya Kokumi in the second half, but that won't work because, well, as you can see, but it might work. I mean, I'll give it a try. Of course, I'll deal much lesser damage. And then finally, this person. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Believe me. Mirror Maiden and Wind Operative. And Wind Operative has, well, it also has a bleeding effect. So now's the best time to pull for healers, folks. If you don't have one, get yourself one. Because trust me, you will tank yourself. You will tank me for this advice. Yeah. Now's the best time. If you don't have one, go farm some primo gems. Get yourself an active healer. Like don't rely on Xingqiu's residual elemental skills heal. That's not gonna cut it. Also, don't rely on the heal that you get from burst, elemental burst, because in that case it's a gamble. Sometimes you get the energy, sometimes you don't. Get some healing characters on your team who will heal you on the elemental skill, and the best case scenario would be, of course, to get someone who will heal you with normal attacks, because oh boy, that would be amazing. And that would of course be too broken. I don't know if there are any characters that let you do that. Anyway, task at hand is of course flow to chamber 1. I'm gonna take the normal and charge deck damage increased by 20%. See how that ends up helping me.
Stabilize. I
And
will have order.
of course, petrification won't work on a world boss. And as this person is hydro infused, so electro infused, so I don't know how much of a damage would an electro reaction would end up dealing to this guy. Pretty much not much, as I can see over here.
Ring cutter.
Where did you go? Come on now.
No, my sword. Time for a light show.
I have sacrificial sword on Xingqiu, and it's thankful on me that the reaction is still going. But well, when it ends up breaking, things are not good. Trust me. And of course, it does not end up hitting that pearl. Come down, you sneaky person, and take some of my plain pyro damage. Yeah, Xingqiu's ult has run out of its energy.
Witness the power of Gugwa. There is no escape. Fuse is lit.
So, it's going to be a long haul for someone who has a level of 95. But then again, the shield is down, so that's something to be thankful for. And it comes back right when I say it's down.
I will
Perfect.
have order.
Comedic timing.
No, my sword. Ring cutter. Shine down.
Best comedic timing ever for a world boss in Genshin Impact. If there's a record for that, I think this guy would love to have his name over there. And of course I left Yoimiya to be damaged. That is a fault on my part. I should not have let that happen. To compensate for that, of course, I let the residual healing come from Xingqiu, but, well, let me tell you, most of the times it won't cut it.
Into the wind.
Come together, you sloggy,
The birds
health draining pieces of crap. Come together so that I can drain your health away.
Covenant of the deep. Hold the line.
Some pyro or cryo application again, and well, I'm gonna have to do it like that. I don't have the ult ready yet, which would have been fun, trust me, you know, gathering people together and ulting them like I am doing it right now.
into the wind.
Don't run away, folks. It's very difficult to get that ult because it's 80 energy cost.
One with wind and cloud. One with nature.
That's a big number. Especially when I totally worried about cryo damage bonus and crit rate and crit damage, but not energy recharge. I mean, if it comes, it comes, but that was not the primary constant, let me tell you that. Come on in, take some of that
My apologies.
hydro, no? Fair enough, I'm gonna have to apply hydro to you personally. I don't appreciate it, but
Transfigurate.
I guess we'll have to make do.
With nature.
Whirling snow.
And to you as well, kind sir. I'm gonna have to do some swirling damage.
Clouds high. The birds.
It's almost funny as to how far these folks were situated on the field. So Kazua's like swirling reaction would not even have taken effect. It's funny, but it's, well,
One with nature.
it's not funny when you look at the time and you see that there's not a lot of time left for you to, you know, make time and kill this guy.
The wind knows me.
Well, no 3 stars here, as unfortunate as it is. We're gonna go ahead to the chamber 2. So we're gonna go for attack burst or attack bonus. What do you mean by attack burst, huh?
Stabilize.
That thing means
Illusion
nothing.
shattered. Rain outlines your fate. Witness
And
the power
these
of
guys are famous for draining your elemental burst. So if you have energy recharge, yeah, you'll have to use it, because if you don't, they're gonna drain first your elemental burst, as well as, well, if you reach a point where you don't have your elemental burst anymore, they're gonna start draining your health.
Let me weave you a
Some
verse.
kind of a
Rain
corrosive
outlines your
effect,
fate.
which
Fuse is lit.
I'm not a fan of. No one is. No one is. At least from the players, no one is. Thankfully we got rid of them. I'm gonna generate the shield again. So it's going to be a long battle, this one, because even though they won't be able to deal that big of a damage as the other ones could have, they have a large health bar, and this moving thing keeps moving a lot of time. Let's see if we can petrify them.
Solidify.
Petrification works,
There is no escape.
so that's one good thing.
Hazard.
I can stop them from attacking me. It's like, you know, asking them to go easy on you, but, you know, asking that in an impolite way, literally freezing them wherever they are, and then doing that, which is of course funny in one way or the other if you were to think
Shine
of
down.
that.
Fuse is lit.
Okay, that was the first half for the second chamber.
Hold the line. My will and body.
How susceptible are these folks to cryo? Apparently not much.
Torrent, bring refuge.
One with nature. Fallen leaves. Adorn my.
Whirling snow. Transfiguring. A brash maneuver. A co-battle threat. Rebuild.
Kokom is apparently taking too much damage. Let's use my ult. Here's hoping that she does not move away because the damage numbers are already small.
Take your true form. Cryo incarnate.
One with nature.
I think I'll have to do the maneuver where I switch teams because this is clearly not working.
Unthinkable.
Okay.
Allow me. Transfiguration. My apologies.
Ult piece.
Embrace the ice.
Attaboy. Then again, come on now. I mean, the name says it, it's kind of a practice in futility. If it's called Icewind Suite, of course it's not gonna take cryo damage, like what am I even doing? But I think I'm gonna be benefited with the same team in the third one, and that's what I'm holding out for. The third chamber. Maybe I'll be able to do a better performance over there, and probably come back over here to,
Whirling snow.
you know, make repairs, make amends, and hopefully get a better performance over here. 50 Primo Gems is a lot, so definitely don't miss out on a star if you can.
Into the wind.
Billowing surge. I will wipe them out. My apologies.
Oh boy,
Coming from
things are desperate.
The wind knows me.
Rest and rebuild.
I'm gonna literally have to let Kazuha do his antics.
Take your true form.
Oh boy. So not only are we gonna lose on the time, we're also gonna lose on the characters that we have on the field. Not good.
Whirling snow.
So if I bring Shenhe on the field, she's as good as dead.
My will embodied.
I'm gonna try again in the hopes of getting some of that residual health, but
Sakura swirl.
well, like you can see, it's clearly not working on my favor.
Take your troop.
And in 22 seconds, I'll lose my second star as well. It's almost as irritating as scratching nails on the wall at this point, but you know what? I'm gonna entertain them.
My will embodied.
I am an open-minded guy. There you have it.
Rest and rebuild.
I'm an open-minded guy, but not an open-wallet guy. So if they want me to grind, I'm gonna grind, but I'm not gonna open up my wallet and tell them that here, take my credit card for that awesome skin that you have, or you know, buy pulls, because that's a never-ending pit.
My apologies.
I'm gonna advise those who are really
Allow me.
secure when it comes to economy. Only them to spend on this game,
Take flight.
because oh boy, even if you spend, things are not guaranteed.
My apologies.
Did Ayaka get some of that healing? I don't think she did.
Take your true form. I
Oh
hope
boy. That's a practice in futility. Abandon. It's not working. So, we're gonna switch teams for the first half, which of course puts the second half in jeopardy. But here's the thing, the jeopardy is something that I'm okay with. But losing characters in the middle, especially the ones that deal the damage, you know, the on-field damage, is something that I am not okay with, because it literally, well, makes things worse for the characters that are to follow. So I'm definitely gonna have to make a hard choice here. And the hard choice will be, of course, to actually read what characters, what enemies we'll end up facing. So of course in the second half we would be benefited by a pyro character. In the first half, yeah, I think swapping should work, but yeah, I'll have to take, yeah, it's weird that in order for the first one to work, because this Millennial Pearl Seahorse, that thing keeps flying, so you're gonna have to take a bow character. I do have Ganyu, but well, I'm not too sure how well I would be able to keep Ganyu, you know, in terms of her being alive. But charge attack, you can't really fight with that. So of course in the second half I'll take this Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, Xingqiu, and an active healer. Where's an active healer? There he is. There she is, Sangonomiya Kokumi. So we're mixing and matching, that's what we're doing. Of course, I have in the second half an elemental resonance, so if it's the pyro that I'm fighting against, which I'm not, quite surprisingly. Yeah, we'll see. Of course, in the second chamber I could use a shield over here, so I might as well take Diona? Well, let's find out. In the first half, yeah, of course, Diana helps healing as well. But in the first chamber, the second half is gonna do some active killing, if you know what I'm saying. So, Kokumi it is. In the first half, let's see, Shenhe, then this Ganyu, and finally over here, would it help to bring people together? Maybe. but definitely not in the first one. But yeah, fair enough. Let's just take and a millennial pearl horse comes down and say, yeah, I'm gonna probably continue taking with Kamisato Ayaka until, of course, my choices are proven mistaken. Right, so there's this as well as where's that guy? Kaide had a Kazuha and finally an active shielder. I'm gonna keep a copy of this so that I don't end up forgetting what team I selected, because this is bizarre. This team might not have a good synergy, but well, it might end up cutting it. You never know. So normal and charge deck damage increased by 20%. That's what we'll go for.
I will have order.
I'll try petrifying this guy, but to no avail due to the fact that this guy is a king or a queen or some real badass person.
The wind knows me.
Cryo incarnate.
In the hopes of the fact that this might have taken the shield down, which it did.
Into the wind.
But then again, I mean, it's the damage numbers are not as big as I ended up getting with Pyro. At this point in time, the game is almost kind of inclined towards Pyro characters. If you have them, you are in luck 75% of times. If you don't have them, well, boo hoo hoo for you.
Guide you.
Into the wind.
Kamisato ult. Soletsu.
Well, there goes my ult to waste.
Solidify.
That's not a good feeling.
My will embodied.
One with nature. Fallen leaves. Adorn my night.
Take flight.
Okay, Shayna's ult, and hopefully that makes my Ayaka a bit stronger. Just a bit. I'm not asking that much, but hey, unfortunately not. No petrification, no energy.
This is
Well, there's some.
Take your true form.
The wind knows me.
So I do have my ult ready over here, but I'm not going to use it until it's too late.
stabilize.
Oh boy.
Into the wind.
My will and
You know what? Fuck it.
Embrace
I'm
the
simply going to use my ult. And the moment I use it, it runs away. I told you folks before, haven't I? The king of comic timing. Comedic timing, or you know, whatever that is. I'm gonna get myself some shield first before my characters die out on me.
As one with wind and cloud.
But clearly I'm spending too much time in the first half. Mind you, in the first
Take
half.
flight.
Then again, I think I wouldn't have gotten a better performance than 2 stars in the first half, which is again assured. So I'm not gonna worry much about it.
Hold the line.
Gonna get them together,
Let me leave you a
do some fire infusion, and try hitting them. But of course getting staggered in the meanwhile, because of course that's not of good help. Some more field healing also helps every now and then.
Allow me. Rain cutter. No, my sword. Rain outlines your illusion shattered.
Raiden and her burst. If now's not the best time to use it, then I don't know what else or where else or at what point in time would I be using her ult again. It's, you know, desperate times calling for desperate measures kind of a thing. But yeah, I'll have to keep the rotation going so as to make sure every character gets an opportunity to come in the field, because it's the on-field healing that's the most beneficial for all of them, instead of something that comes as a, well, from the ult. It's not that much.
Shine down. Inazuma shines eternal.
Kokomi was clearly getting overwhelmed over there, and well, unfortunately everyone else was as well.
No, my sword. Billowing surge.
she needs to find a way to heal herself real quick because oh boy, that is not good. Like we're not only gonna lose out on the time, but we're gonna lose out on the characters, and if we lose on the characters, this is done for.
Rain outlines your fate. No, my soul. Illusion shattered.
But then again, I mean, it's the
Body and mind.
don't lose out on characters. That's the key note. That's the key point. If I lose out on the time, it's the first chamber. It's fine. I did what I had to do in the previous run. And then we have these idiots that I'm thankful that I got myself Kokomi for, because if I did not, that would have been a messy state of affair. Alright.
Rain outlines
I'm
your
gonna give
fate.
Xingqiu a new lease of life,
Witness the
but
power
then
of the
again,
wild.
he probably does not need it. Oh, that person is supposed to get the shield back. And the last few damages were physical in nature. Bad run, but it's okay. It's the chamber 2 that has the prime importance over here. Attack plus 20%.
Order guide you.
Well, let's see if these folks are like cool folks, you know, the kind that don't take damage from something that's cold, like cryo or hydro. But that does not seem to be the case. I see big numbers through, right?
Incarnate.
I'm gonna get them together even though they were together and use the ultimate. Because if I don't use it, they're gonna drain it out of me anyway. In one of the attacks that's gonna end up touching me. Attaboy.
This is order.
Gonna petrify the fake person first because of course
Fallen leaves.
I do not want my shield to be penetrated by that thingy that keeps swinging across the place. That is scary. Especially when you need your characters to be alive for the next round. It becomes increasingly important.
Take your truth.
The wind knows me.
Whirling snow.
Even if my ult gets ready, I'm still gonna wait on Shenhe's buff before I use it because of obvious reasons.
Do your master's bidding.
It's only going to be effective if I make it effective, you know, if I get those big numbers, because these things are tank. They won't budge if you don't make them budge. Like if you give them small damages, they'll keep hitting you, and there's only so much of damage that Song's shield can take, you know. Here again, the shredding as well as Shenhe's buff in one way or the other did end up helping in this one. Let's see how it does in the next one, which is Icewind Suite. The stagger is something that I'll probably struggle with, but we'll let time tell that story. Okay, big numbers, fair enough. We are making some progress here. As long as I let Yoimiya stay alive and not take too much damage, you know, uncalculated risks, that, oh, I'll be fine.
Now you shall perish.
I should be fine. But if I do too much, then, well, it's kind of my fault that I'll end up getting killed.
Rain outlines
Or
your
my
fate.
DPS is getting killed for that matter, you know. Okay, no on-field healing there. So definitely not a good time to bring out Kokomi. Or, oh boy. Some Raiden show can help. And there goes the third star in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Rest and rebuild. Covenant of the deep. Fuse is lit.
The most damage is of course gonna be dealt by Yoimiya, but well, she can be weak. she can be really, really weak. So you're gonna have to take care of her. Well, not in that sense, but you know what I'm saying.
There is no escape. Now you shall perish.
But she's wholesome as well, so you gotta take care of her that way too. Not a lot of people are as kind-hearted as how she is portrayed in the story events. So we ended up getting 2 stars over here. 2 stars in the first chamber, 2 stars in the second. If we get 2 stars in the third one as well, well, I call that a success. 6 stars in the last chamber. Keeping in mind that the ley line overflow has no anomalies. It's normal. It's not gonna buff you in any way. So it's only you, your characters, and the wishes, the benediction of the abyss that you end up picking here that are going to be of help to you. So,
Solidify.
Time to go. Into the wind.
is this person gonna take higher damage? Supposedly so, because even though this is not an elemental life form, it's still a human that's wielding elements. So, well, a human is going to be susceptible to that big damage that Shane provides them with. But a quick note is that... Where did you go? Can I do damage from here? No?
Crumble.
This is our
Fallen
majesty's
leaves.
gift.
Adorn my...
Solidify.
By ordinance divine.
One with nature.
Just about to disappear when I ended up killing. Perfect. Okay, this is bad. I'm gonna need a healer, which is probably why I probably would. Not sure, but I would end up rerunning this.
Embrace the ice.
If at any point in time they are able to go through Zhongli's shield, which is very likely because,
Into the wind.
well, there's only so much of damage that Zhongli can protect you from. They have a bleeding effect that deals damage over time.
Gather. I will have order.
Let's see if I can petrify them, and that way
Your master's
I
bidding.
can ask them to kindly not deal damage to me.
Stabilize.
Time to go.
Well, the character design for these characters are
My will
amazing.
embodied.
Truth be told, I'm floored
Swirl.
that these are the Fatui,
Order
well,
guide you.
enemies that we are facing at this phase. Because it's not just design, but also the kind of buffs that they'll end up having. And yeah, there you go.
Take your truth.
I was affected by that, so Kazuha's gonna have that constant drain.
Stabilize.
Did you end up scaring me? Oh hell, you did?
The wind.
Trust me on that.
Whirling snow.
Let me do something far more scarier.
Sometsu.
The ult. Second half, let's see how much time we end up having over here.
Shine down. Let me leave you a verse.
And if our
Outlines your
characters hold a candle to the massive damage that it might end up dealing to us. Oh boy. That's like preempting the jump, because clearly
No, my sword.
I would need a bow character over here.
Fire hazard.
There's no way I can hit this flying target if I don't have a bow character. Or a catalyst character for that matter. But, well, you know it for the fact that if you like, share and subscribe on this video, I'm gonna prepare new bullet for the next one. And he will probably appropriate these enemies and show them their rightful
There is no
place.
escape.
You know.
Time for a light show.
So the health for Raiden Shogun was critical for a very momentary amount of time. But thankfully I had Kokomi's healing over there.
Hold the line. Billowing surge. down. Let me leave you a verse.
Oh boy. This is getting serious, huh? Okay, this is the continuous
Rain
3-1.
outlines your
This happens when you take the fight for too long and you're not able to kill it as quickly as you probably could in the open world, because, well, the open world version of this experimental field generator is a lot weaker than the one that you get to face in the Abyss. And, well, thankfully I did not have to reset it again and get a new set of characters. But there you go, 2 floors in the chamber, 3rd for floor 12th, and that brings us to the bottom of the spiral abyss. It took us quite a good amount of rerunning with a, well, unorthodox selection of characters, but it's something that you kind of have to make do with a free-to-play playing style when you don't have the artifacts, when you don't have the characters that would be the best in slot for a certain abyss enemies. Then you have to make do with what you have. And here are our earnings. 9 stars in the 9th floor, 10th floor also has 9 stars, 11th floor has 9 stars, 12th floor has 6 stars. We are maintaining the status quo since the last one. So this is 150. You add 150 to that, becomes 300. You add 150 to that, that becomes 450. And that becomes 550. 550 primo gems from this run of the Abyss. Do let me know in the comments down below how you ended up liking this run. This was definitely a lot unpredictable than the previous runs, which were more or less a piece of cake. A piece of hard cake, know what I'm saying? You know, they were difficult in their own way, but this one, oh boy, made me want to go back, rethink my strategy again, rethink the rotations, and then repenting it right after when the rotations and the strategies did not end up working. There you have it. So let's look at the artifacts that we ended up getting from the Abyss. And this is from the Golden Troop, but 2 different stats, so definitely not good. The next one is again from Golden Troop. 7.8 crit damage and energy recharge. Good. Only if we ended up getting crit rate as the 4th stat would we be able to redeem this artifact set. So I'm going to lock this one for later perusal. And finally, well, this is bad. Defense, elemental mastery, and attack percent. Whoops. Oh boy. I'll have to probably use my artifacts, probably consume them in building other artifacts, or converting them into some other forms. But yep, there you have it. That was the moment of Suzuki, the first Spiral Abyss reset after the version 4.1. We got to see some new enemies. We got to see some twisted ways with which the ley line overflow can help you, or in 12th floor, the absence of which can end up being detrimental for your performance. So let me know what you feel about this video down in the comment section below. If you like this video, click on that like button. If you want to subscribe and see more videos of this kind, because every single time whenever a Spiral Abyss resets, I make it a point to run it either on that day or the day after, but basically as soon as possible to get that experience to you as a free-to-play player, not spending a single dime in my account, and just seeing how far I end up getting, or how bottom I end up getting in the Spiral Abyss with how many stars, because these 550 primo gems, they are going to be helpful for my preparation for Furina or Fossalurs. I'm definitely gonna pull for her, and if you're gonna want to see her in the Spiral Abyss along with New Willet, the way I showed you before the stream started, be sure to click on that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends who play Genshin Impact, even with those who don't play and they might feel like playing it, because this is definitely one of the better free to play games out there. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you around.